Hi, welcome to Reddit Tea Time. So for 3 generations of our family, we've had somebody carry on the name of my great-grandfather. However, despite the facts of my dad, uncle, and aunts having 3 boys and 2 girls between them all, so far all of us have either been suffering from fertility issues or have only had daughters. Don't get me wrong, my wife and I already have a daughter and I love her very much. However, given that the other relatives are either planning to adopt daughters from parents who could not raise them, committing to being child-free, or saying they're happy with the 3 girls they have, I felt a lot of pressure on me to be the one that has a son. So much pressure that when we found out my wife was carrying twins, we saw it as a blessing from a higher spirit. However, given our finances, I'm a firefighter and my wife is a CNA for a nursing home, the 1 child and done would have been better for us. We contemplated stopping, but my great-uncle, who is obsessed with how many kids people have, was all like, well, Nelson Peltz has 10 kids. More kids make you find ways of making more money. And other relatives chiming in saying people with more kids make more money. We were so nervous about the gender that we didn't want to know until birth. But that didn't stop relatives from coming in with a bunch of old wives' tales saying, based on my wife's symptoms, the babies were the same gender for sure. So flash forward to the day of the birth. The first baby was born Sunday at 12:20 a.m. I hear the baby crying and then silence from the previously chatty relatives. Finally, somebody, and I forget who, tells me it's a healthy girl and I should be proud. I was so upset because the relatives put in my mind that if the first one was a girl, the second one would be too. And I hate to say it, I was having stress over adding twins to the house. I made my excuses and walked out. I went out to the car and cried, and then drove to the nearby cafe to get a coffee to calm myself down. Before I got there, I got a call from my mom saying I had a son. I turned the car around and sped back to the hospital. However, when I got to my wife's room, a nurse came out and said in a rather smug tone, "Sir, your wife is asking that you not be admitted inside." I tried to tell her that I wanted to be with my wife, but she just gave me a "you don't scare me" type eye roll. My wife banned me from her room for the next day, and finally this morning, she said I could come hold my twins. She pointedly made me acknowledge our daughter first, as if a baby understands English, and then let me hold my son. I couldn't stand it anymore, and told her that throwing a grouchy nurse on me, and then what she did just then was petty, and I cannot believe her. She got mad and said that she was naming our son the name I wanted, and then threw me out again. Am I the bonehead for going away to collect my emotions and feeling I'm entitled to my kids? Now for some comments. OP says, tells me it's a healthy girl and I should be proud. I was so upset. I made my excuses and walked out. Wow, you're the bonehead so massively, hugely. You realize that for the rest of her life, your wife will always remember that when your daughter was born, you got upset and had to leave because that wasn't what you wanted. The first emotion you ever felt about your daughter is disappointment. That is absolutely disgraceful and you should be ashamed of yourself. If this is real, you're the bonehead for so many reasons. Financially, you said you would be better off with just 1 child you already had, yet you chose to bow to pressure from family to try and have a boy. And what makes you the biggest bonehead of all is walking out on your wife at a critical moment when you thought the second twin would be a girl. What concerns me most is how you'll now treat those children. I'm sure your girls won't even realize they have a father. Your wife is having twins. Count your blessings you'll never have to experience that. You abandoned your wife. She's discovered 2 things. A, don't count on you for emergencies. Any slight will make you run for the hills while she's literally incapacitated and unable to follow. And B, she was able to make it through without you. She'll always remember how she made it through a hard situation on her own without her partner. Just remember those 2 truths going forward. They'll be on the forefront of her mind. You're the bonehead, holy crap. You abandoned your wife while she was giving birth, first of all. And second of all, you need to seek help for your views on baby girls versus baby boys. You literally broke down and cried at the prospect of having 2 daughters, but sped back when you found out the second was a boy? Get some professional help to work that out. OP said, what she did just then was petty and I cannot believe her. The unmitigated gall of OP to call his wife petty when he left her in the middle of labor to go and cry that he wasn't going to get the gendered baby he wanted. You're the bonehead, OP. I hope you learned your lesson in 1, not listening to old wives' tales, and 2, being happy for your child regardless of gender. Tradition is just peer pressure from dead people. You're the bonehead. I find it hard to believe you don't realize that. Your wife is giving birth and you have a breakdown because it's a girl. I swear, if I were her, I wouldn't let you near the children and I would name the boy something different. If this name crap is stressing you out, then don't put that pressure on the next generation. Again, you were a massive bonehead. Let me get this straight. Your wife just shoved another human being out of her body. It's horrifically painful and bloody. She's going to do it all over again in the next 5 to 15 minutes. And your response is to run out walking like a bee because baby 1 is a girl? You refuse to come back till you hear baby 2 is a boy? You're lucky your wife let you back the next day. Personally, I would have contacted a lawyer, asked them to get a custody order, and then checked out of the hospital to go straight to a safe house. You wouldn't have seen any of the kids until a judge ordered visitation. You don't deserve those kids. And I don't believe that throwaway comment that you love your wife and older daughter. I, 46 female, have kids 18 female and 15 male with my ex-husband 46 male. We got divorced over 10 years ago after I found out he was cheating and got his mistress pregnant. I was so deeply hurt by this, it took me a long time to put myself together again. After our divorce was finalized, he got married to his mistress. They have 2 daughters, 10 and 7. Despite him being an idiot to me, he was and still is a great father to our kids. And to not potentially ruin their relationship, I agreed to not tell them about the affair after he begged me not to say anything, and that he would tell them when the time was right. We share 50-50 custody, though since they are older, they now decide when they go where and for how long. I've been as civil as I could with the situation for our kids' well-being and put clear boundaries in place, like there's no way on earth I would babysit their kids after they asked me once. 2 years after the divorce, I started dating a woman, 43 female. We're now married. Ex told me he felt like I never loved him since it turns out I'm into women, even though I told him I'm bi. The kids love her. She shares some interests with both kids, and we all do our annual Star Wars marathon on winter break. Back in January, I started to feel like they were pulling away from us. At first I thought it was nothing, just kids being kids, but then they started to spend less and less time with us and more with their dad. I was a bit jealous, I'll admit, but I was also getting worried because they were just not communicating with me at all. And when they did speak to me, they were just snapping at me or at my wife, rolling their eyes, etc. It was clear they were mad at us. So in mid-April, when my wife was out of the house, I sat them down and asked them what was going on, if they were okay. My daughter got really mad at me and started yelling that she was not okay because I led their dad on. I lied to him, I hurt him, and how could I be such a monster to play with a good man's heart? And she stormed off to her room. I was really confused, so I asked my son, who was quiet, what her sister meant. He said their dad told them that we got divorced after I came out, and that I told him marrying him was the biggest mistake of my life. He started crying and asking why I would do and say such things, and that I didn't just hurt their father, but them and our family. Needless to say, I was furious. I told him to come with me. We went to his sister's room. I knocked on her door and begged her to let me in and let me say something, and she eventually opened the door. We sat on her bed and I told them that what their father said was not true. She tried to argue, but I stopped her and asked her to let me talk. I asked them to think a bit and do some math regarding their sister's birthday. They didn't get it, so I asked them her birth date. They tell me, and I tell them that 6 months prior, we were in Disneyland having the time of our lives. They said they remember, so I asked them when did their father move out. About a month after that trip. And when was their sister born? About 5 months after. They started to get it, and my daughter asked me if I'm implying their father cheated on me. I said yes. She then grabbed her phone and called her aunt, my ex's sister, and asked her if it was true her dad cheated on me. She had to beg for an answer, and her aunt finally said yes. She called other family members to confirm. They both apologized to me and to my wife when she came home for how they've been treating us. They went to their dad's the following day and called us to ask if they could move all their things they have there to our house. Soon I had my ex on my door yelling that I broke my promise and that I sabotaged his relationship with our kids. He didn't leave until I called the police. Our kids have since gone low contact with him and his wife. They only go over there to pick up their sisters to hang out with them. My daughter disinvited them from her graduation. My son is no longer going to the boys' camping trip with his dad, his 2 brothers and cousins. I've been getting texts and calls and voicemails from him and his family calling me a bonehead for ruining their relationship. And I've been starting to feel guilty because he's a good dad and I did break my promise. My wife says he crossed the line first. Am I the bonehead? Edit. I realized I'm bi when I started having feelings for my now wife 2 years after the divorce. Prior to that, I thought I was straight. My daughter has been sulking about not seeing something that was right in front of her. She said she had no reason to question anything because her dad and I seemed okay with each other. I asked them if they wanted to go to therapy. My daughter said that she would like to start in the fall, once she's in her dorm. My son just wants to be left alone with this for a while. Someone said I should force them to go to counseling and talk to their father. It's like you don't have teenagers. I did tell them that what happened between their father and I is between us, and they can see him if they want. They just don't want to right now. They're mad because of the lying. Now for some comments. Not the bonehead. Your kids are old enough to have figured it out sooner or later. Your ex lied to them first to get the kids on his side. You just corrected his lie. They're old enough to know, old enough to make their decisions about their father, old enough to realize their father has probably lied about other things. Not the bonehead. You can always say, I wouldn't have broken my promise if ex didn't lie and tell them that we divorced due to me being bi. I care more about relationship with my kids than my ex. He made me a villain when he was the villain. I owed them nothing, yet he tried to destroy me. Screw him. OP replied, while I told my kids I'm bi, my daughter said he told her I say that now just for cover, and that I'm not into men at all, and that's why he said I led him on and played with his feelings. And his proof is that I've only been with women since the divorce. And that's technically true. I've only been with only one person since then. Also, being bi never crossed my mind until I met my wife. There was no coming out before the divorce. Not the bonehead. He told a gross lie and blamed you for the divorce, so you told the truth. It's maybe unfortunate that your kids are going low contact if he's a great dad. Then again, great dads don't tell disgusting lies and try to shift the blame. Not the bonehead. Is this a joke? You did not break that promise. You promised to not tell them he cheated. You never promised to support his lies about what he said. OP replied, some agree it was wrong but said I should have done something different, with more tact. Others are mad I've allowed the kids to distance themselves from their dad, basically. My ex and his parents tried to get to my daughter by threatening to not pay for college. She came to us about it and my wife said she would cover my ex's half if needed. So they're now mad that my wife is trying to take over his role. My brother Tom, 36 male, and I, 26 female, have never had a really solid relationship. Due to our age gap, we didn't spend much time, and by the time I was old enough to develop a personality, he was moved out of the house. For the last 2 years, my brother and his fiancée Sarah, 32 female, have been planning their wedding, and it's coming up in September. I was asked to be a bridesmaid. I figured I was only asked as a courtesy since I'm her soon-to-be sister-in-law, but I still took it seriously. I've been a bridesmaid for the last 2 years. Just a few weeks ago, I managed to save up to buy the $800 bridesmaid dress. Overall, in the last 2 years between group outings to parties, dinners, lunches, clothes, etc., I've spent thousands of dollars. Eventually, all the girls in the wedding and I became extremely close and I started to get hyped for the wedding. Sarah recently got close to her brother's wife, Becky, 30 female. Last week, she dropped the bomb on me that she no longer wants me to be a bridesmaid and she would prefer if Becky would take my place. It broke my heart a little, but it's her wedding and it's not my place to tell her how to run it, so I said it was fine. Yesterday, I went to my brother's house to pick up the bridesmaid's dress and was going to see if I could return it since it was within the time frame. Sarah was completely appalled and said that Becky was going to wear it since she and I are the same size. I said that would be fine, but they would have to pay me the $800 for it. Sarah said that Becky couldn't afford it and I should just be nice and let her use it and said I could keep it after the wedding. I explained that I'm not just giving away the dress and I'm not ever going to use it after the wedding. After some bickering back and forth, I just ended up taking it and leaving. My brother and Sarah tried to compromise with me and say I could be the assistant flower girl and I felt offended at the offer. After I said no, they then said that Becky would give me $250 for it. Again, no, and I returned the dress and got a full refund. I told them I understand that it's their wedding, but they're being extremely disrespectful to me and I don't need to deal with it and I'm not going to the wedding. Today, my coworker says she has an extra round-trip plane ticket to go to Miami that she'll sell to me for half price, plus I would have to pay for half the hotel and I can go hang out with her in Florida. The only downside is that I'll be in Florida for the week of my brother's wedding. So will I be the bonehead if I just go party in Miami instead of going to my brother's wedding? Now for some comments. Not the bonehead. Go to Miami. A wedding is not an event where a soon-to-be sister-in-law and your own brother crap all over you and you smile and take it. Not the bonehead. They disrespected you so you don't have to be there if you don't want to. They literally removed you as a bridesmaid after they had you spend so much money. I'm proud of you for returning the dress instead of letting them walk all over you and take it for free. You might not be able to ever be close with this brother if he finds out you chose partying in Miami over his wedding. Also, it may affect what parents and other family members think of you, but not sure if any of that is relevant. F them, they did you dirty. OP replied, that's what I was thinking. I would also lose out on the $800 dress, and if I was going to be the assistant flower girl, I would have to buy another dress. This whole ordeal has stressed me out. Maybe I need to relax in Miami. What do you think? Please let me know in the comments below. If you liked this story and you've made it this far, please consider subscribing. I really appreciate you spending your valuable time with me. Hopefully, I'll see you in the next Reddit story. In the meantime, please take care of yourself. Bye for now.